Good morning. We're going to begin our August 20th, 2013 9 a.m. meeting. If you wouldn't mind, we're going to stand for an invocation and a pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, help us to be thoughtful and considerate as we carry out our duties and responsibilities. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. This morning I'm looking for a motion for our minutes from the August 6th, 2013 meeting.
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Shows there are no proclamations or presentations this morning. However, we do have a special recognition for one of our own, our St. Lucie County Commission Chair, Vice Chair, Ms. Franny Hutchinson, has received an award. And so with that, we'd like to recognize her for her Beach Preservation Award. So congratulations. That was a great honor. The Florida Shore and Beach Preservation Association provided Franny with that award, and so that is exciting. Anything you'd like to say?
No, it was a community effort. It wasn't just me.
Okay. That'll be presented actually at their annual conference as well, and that'll be there in Delray. So, excellent. Anything else this morning? Presentations, proclamations? I show nothing else. Okay, with that, we're going to move right into general public comment. I know we have also some Kaiser University students, so if you all don't mind, we would like to help these students and allow them to be able to get up and to provide their presentation this morning. So, Jim, would you like to start off with just introducing your group?
Of course. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, audience in attendance. This is my public speaking class from Kaiser University in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I've had them for about 4 weeks now. So most classes are 16 weeks at IRSC. My class is 4 weeks. Many of them are first-time college students and making presentations to the board for the first time. So this is their first real live public speaking experience, speaking on issues that are near and dear to their heart, that they have planned themselves. And their point in doing this is really to have a voice in the community and to get the ball rolling on conversation, even if I know if it's stuff that the board maybe cannot directly have an impact with, at least it gets the conversation rolling in the community for people who are listening. And I'm very proud of them and to introduce my group today. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Althea Stuttermeyer. I'm a student at Kaiser University. My major is psychology. My issue that is dear to my heart is the shooting and killing taking place in our community by our children. As county commissioners, your mission statement is to provide service, infrastructure, leadership necessary to advance a safe, sustainable community, maintain a high quality of life, and protect the natural environment. As a community, we are treating the symptoms that keep threatening and penetrating our community. A symptom, as we know, is an indication that something is wrong. Our symptoms are the drugs, the bullying, and the shooting. I believe we should begin to create and provide the infrastructure to find the root cause of the symptoms. Yes, we need to get to know our neighbors with the neighborhood watches, the night outs, and the town meetings. Yes, we should have gun laws and make more police presence. And yes, we should stop the violence. But how when we only treat the symptoms? Can we come together as a community, identify the root, work together to uproot them so the village, which is our community, will be safe and sustainable? As the proverb states, it takes a village to raise a child. And thank you again for your time. My name is Althea Stuttermeyer.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't intend to speak on every issue, but I want you to know that on Saturday, August 24th, the city of Fort Pierce, the county, a number of other agencies are participating in a neighborhood cleanup. We call it the Neighborhood Enhancement Action Team. And if you're familiar with the broken window theory, it's a part about cleaning up the neighborhood so that people feel empowered to make a difference in their community. As part of that, we will be meeting each other. The neighbors will be meeting each other. The faith-based agencies will be involved.
Okay.
A number of other community agencies will be involved to bring this together to help start changing the way we deal with violence in our community. So if you're able, please come out. For those of you at home, Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to noon, we'll be at Avenue D and 15th Street to Avenue F, to 16th Street, back to Avenue D. It's a small block, but we'll be cleaning that up. The neighborhood's invited. We'll be having a block party thereafter so that people can meet each other, understand who we are, and help get phone numbers so they can talk to each other. And then, of course, you know, silence is deadly. We need to talk about what's happening. We need to tell the police what's happening. And if you go on to TC Palm, there's an article recently that was done, I think, by CNN. Can't remember the anchor's name. But it talks about silence and how we have to change our culture.
Yes.
Because 1% of the people are creating the crime and killing people. It's the 99% we have to protect,
Yes.
and we have to stop this. So thank you very much for your effort.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mike Ellison. I am currently studying surgical technology at Kaiser University. Today I will be speaking about the infestation of feral hogs in St. Lucie County, more specifically, the personal properties and tradition in the surrounding communities. Within the last couple of years, the residents of Tradition have noticed a dramatic increase of feral hogs ridding up their yards and tearing up personal property. We are not alone in this problem. There are feral hogs in every county in Florida and can be found in more than 30 states. Hogs are prolific breeders, the sows, capable of birthing their first piglets at 13 months old and can reproduce about 3 times a year at an average of 5.5 piglets. And these aren't your ordinary cute and cuddly pigs that you see every day. These are wild animals that could grow up to 200 pounds and have enough jaw strength to crack open pecans and hickory nuts on a daily basis. But their sharp tusks can also be extremely dangerous and aggressive. Their rooting could uproot, can accelerate leaf litter decomposition, causing loss of nutrients, killing the seedling tree growth and their chance of survival. To avoid problems like this in our own backyard, feral hogs need to be harvested to put any kind of impact on their numbers. The Florida law on seasons and bag limit for the hogs that is in place right now is perfect. According to my research, there's only one wildlife management area in St. Lucie County that is available to hunters. This reserve offers about 1,100 acres, but is not simply enough. In conclusion, the feral hogs will not stop uprooting our neighborhoods and moving into people's backyards unless there's a drastic change and reduction in their numbers. By giving local hunters access to new land or many of the existing recreational use properties in St. Lucie County, there will be no decrease in their numbers. So the bottom line, there just needs to be areas for hunters to hunt. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ellison. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kara Pettit. I am a student at Kaiser University. My major is medical assisting, and I'd like to start out by thanking all of you for allowing me a few minutes of your time. I would like to take this opportunity to inform you about Maya Matters, which is a local nonprofit that is very dear to my heart. Maya Matters was founded as a resource for families affected by childhood cancer, and we currently serve the Treasure Coast and Palm Beach areas. Before I go into the services that we provide, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on the motivation behind Maya Matters, which is Maya herself. As Maya's mom, I will admit that I am biased, but she was an extraordinary little girl with a huge passion for life and love for others. Shortly before Maya turned 3, she was diagnosed with a strand of leukemia that no one had ever seen. And after battling for 20 months, she did pass away at the age of 4. It was during her illness that she and I spoke about how wonderful it would be to be able to reach out to other children like herself when she was well again. And the idea for Maya Matters was set in place. It wasn't until 2009, about 6 years after she passed away, that I felt that I was ready to move forward with her dream, and Maya Matters was founded. Today, 4 years into our endeavor, we have 2 wonderful programs that we offer our families. Our first program, our main program, is our financial program. And this program provides assistance with necessary bills, such as your rent, car insurance, medical bills, at times funeral expenses. And actually, just earlier this month, we did assist another Port St. Lucie family whose son had a transplant down in Miami, children, and he has been there for 3 months, longer than you typically see after a transplant. Mom has not been able to work. Dad is traveling back and forth, juggling his job and their other child, their daughter. So we did assist them with their rent. Our second program is our social program. That's our Happiness Matter program. And this program is our fun program. It's intended to provide recreational items for the children. They can make requests for toys, movies, music, video games, just things like that to help bring a little bit of cheer and normalcy to their lives as they go through their battle. We currently fulfill 2 financial and 2 social applications per month. And to date, we have fulfilled over 100 requests for assistance, and we have never turned a family away. And while we are doing what we set out to do, helping families of children with cancer in the area, our organization is largely unknown. So it is my hope that after learning a little bit about us today, I can encourage you to learn more, perhaps get involved through advocacy or volunteerism. I am going to leave some information for all of you to review at your convenience. And anybody that would like more information, I invite you to go to our website, which is www.mayamatters.org, or visit us on Facebook at our Maya Matters page. Thank you very much. And again, my name is Kara Pettit.
Thank you very much.
If I may, Mr. Chair. Kara, if you would, could you please give them a contact number as well?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay.
Sure will.
Now, on camera?
Oh, sure, sorry. It's 772-342-6099.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Molina. I am a student at Kaiser University where I'm majoring in a nursing degree. What I'd like to talk to you about today are the animal license laws and fees that are in place right now. According to stluciecounty.gov Animal Control Department, under county laws for animal control pet registration program, effective October 1st, 2007, residents within the unincorporated areas of the St. Lucie County are required to register their dogs and cats with St. Lucie Public Safety Department through participating veterinarian offices or the Humane Society of the St. Lucie County. Approved by the board, county commissioners, this new ordinance requires that dog and cat owners in the unincorporated areas to pay registration fee for their animals. This registration fee is an annual cost of $10 or $25 for a one-time fee, but only if you have a spayed animal. Now, if your animal is unaltered, then the fee is $75 annually. I know that the city also has different prices, but regardless if it's city or county, both require proof of rabies vaccination from a licensed veterinarian, which means an additional cost. I took the liberty of researching local veterinary offices, how much this could cost annually. Rabies vaccine costs anywhere from $15 to $25, plus the exam fee, which can range anywhere between $43 to $50. So we're roughly looking at around $58 to $75 just in veterinary fees, plus the registration fees set in place by the county. So what I propose is, if I used to live in Tennessee where I own dogs, and we had similar regulations, but in Tennessee, according to the Metro Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Tennessee Code Ordinance, under Chapter 8, Section 070 License Tag, dog license tags shall be supplied by the Department of Health to be made available in its budget out of the revenue of the metropolitan government. It shall be the duty of the owner to attach such license tag to a collar which shall be worn at all times by each dog license. In the event of such a loss, license tag, the Department of Health shall issue a duplicate for which the owner shall pay a fee of $2. So what I propose is, if this could somehow be made into the budget of the county, that to provide these dog tags to alleviate us as citizens from having to pay such a large fee annually for our pets. And in the case of losing the tag, then we would have to pay a fee to replace it. Again, my name is Sandra, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Molina. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak today about an issue in Port St. Lucie. My name is Drew Averitt, and I go to Kaiser University and major in information technology. Today I would like to take some time to talk to you about the littering at Veterans Memorial Park. I have personally walked the path and seen tons of trash dumped over the guardrails and seen birds and raccoons dead laying in the trash. I feel that this can be fixed by having a patrol officer walk the path at numerous times throughout their shift, day and night, to show a presence. For those caught in St. Lucie County should be fined and be punished with giving up a weekend to clean up the public parks and walking paths in Port St. Lucie, to include the beaches. This is a problem that, if not fixed, will only get worse, and the trash will just pile up, leaving more animals dead, leaving the park pointless because no one wants to go somewhere that is cluttered in trash and dead animals. Thank you, Commissioner, and again, my name is Drew.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Danny Reeser. I study video game design at Kaiser University, and thank you for letting me speak today. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about earthworm castings, which in layman's term is worm poop. So it comes from the worms as their excrement. But I would like to more or less bring the awareness that this is a product or substitution that you can use in our parks, our sides of the roads, whenever we're doing road construction and regular park maintenance. Worm castings increase the roots and the longevity of plants and make them a lot more healthy and vibrant. So in your park areas, such as heavy traffic areas, you don't get the run down, dirty looking, grass, which then in turn requires you to have a lot less maintenance. Also, it's 100% organic, therefore it's pet safe, children friendly, so you can spread it on any parks, anywhere that you deem that can be fit, and it will cause no harm. But this is something I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention to let you know that that is out there and a organic, healthy need that our environment can use and need. So again, my name is Danny Reeser. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. Okay, thank you, students. We appreciate your time this morning. Great ideas. It's amazing to see what's been coming out of this class after 4 weeks. I find myself thinking I would be not wanting to take this class if I heard you had to speak before the county commission. But I tell you, it seems like you have a great class. And I know I spoke with your students, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it looks like you have a great class. So thank you all. With that, we'll continue on for our general public comment. Welcome. Good morning. Podium is yours.
All right, take it home?
Yes. At times that'd be nice. Thanks.
A little heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is John Moeller. I live at 5217 Northwest Iredell Street. And for me, this is reason number 6 why we should not be part of the 7-county 50-year plan. When I was at the meetings they had in June, the conference they had in West Palm Beach, I sat there and listened to them talk about agriculture, education, broadband, and the ports. On agriculture, that right now, from the federal level down to the universities, the ag owners, everyone, they're trying to find ways to get around greening and canker with either trees that were, won't get the disease or to eradicate the disease. And I thought that was very encouraging. After all, they said they've lost 50% of their groves. And I thought that was amazing that all these people are working together on it. And education, I listened to how the universities throughout the entire state are working for programs and degree programs and are working with businesses here so they can have partnerships and internships. So when you leave the university, you go from there to a job. You lived here, you're born here, you grew up here, and you now are having a job here. You're not going to somewhere else in the United States. I thought that was very good. All the universities and colleges are working towards that goal. On broadband, I listened to them talk about Martin County, where they built a broadband ring down there, and it included the county government, schools, it included fire, police, it included emergency services and the libraries. I thought that was very good. And I used to work in the telecommunication industry. I understood exactly what they were saying, and they were saying how the same things and with their help can be built in St. Lucie County, West Palm, actually throughout the whole state. You can interconnect these rings between one another to where your governmental ring could be hooked up with Apalachicola. I understand all that, and throughout the state I thought that was an excellent idea. And when you're building rings, you cut off one section because it's a ring, the other section doesn't go down. And then with the ports, I listened to them talk about how with the Suez Canal being expanded, that the port authorities of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, and Fort Pierce are coming up with ways to expand the ports. And for the first time, I understood what an inland port was. I sat there and listened to them. I didn't know what they were talking about at first. But it is actually for larger storage areas for both import and export. Okay, I understood all that. And you may say, well, gee, that's really great. You learned a lot from this 750 council, and it all sounds good. What I don't understand is why we need an extra layer of bureaucracy called regional planning, because this is already being done. The education people are all talking to each other. Port people are having meetings. Broadband groups are working together and trying to hook up with one another. The agriculture from federal level down. 750 is a board of non-elected officials. Non-elected is the important part there that we do not need. When I was here before, I listened to I call her the Sand Lady. I'm sorry, I forgot her name on the last Tuesday night meeting, the Sand Lady. What if she had come to you and said, you all have accepted regional planning and you're part of the group, and I'm here to inform you that any and all sands from 3 miles out can and will be used for regional planning. It will be sent down to Miami-Dade. We're not asking. This is part of the regional plan. What I would like to really say is, in conclusion, is if the property rights of your constituents is as important as the sand on our beaches, then we do not and should not be part of the 7-county 50-year plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Peter Bullock. I live at 3120 North Highway A1A, Fort Pierce. I wish to speak to you this morning about climate change economics. A driving principle underlying 750 is the alleged need to save the planet from global warming caused by man-made greenhouse gases, CO2 to be specific. 750's argument is that planners and their governments will save the planet by applying land use and zoning restrictions plus taxation to relocate population into dense stack and pack housing, having narrow streets, limited auto parking, and garage facilities, thus forcing individuals to abandon personal automobiles and resort to mass transit. This is a massive centrally planned re-engineering of how and where St. Lucie County citizens live and work. All this re-engineering, at what cost? All this re-engineering, at what benefit? As our local elected officials, this decision rests in your hands. Let's examine the economics of this argument. I suggest the cost side of the 750 plan to socially re-engineer St. Lucie County is so massive that its actual dollar consequences can't even be fairly assessed at this time. Just think about the huge intrusion into every resident's current way of life. Costs equal unknown, but huge. I wish to focus my discussion today on the benefit side of this equation, and only to the benefit of taking away residents' automobiles. I don't intend to discuss global warming for or against. Rather, I want us to get to the economic benefit to the environment of removing cars from our roads. The U.S. Census 2011 put the county household number at 103,900. The Conservation International website assumes that the average household employs 1.12 full-time autos, which gives us 116,000 full-time equivalent automobiles used in county households. They estimate each auto emits 5 tons of CO2 annually. Professor Robert J. Pindyke of MIT, who is a carbon tax advocate, publishes in his latest article in the summer 2013 issue of Journal Regulation, suggesting an economic price on social cost of carbon be placed at $20 a ton. This cost equates to $100 per automobile, or 20 cents per gallon of gasoline. This dollar value would be equivalent to the economic benefit involuntarily offered by a St. Lucie County resident toward cleaning up the global environment by granting 750 the right to save the planet by taking her car off the road. To place this dollar value into perspective, this issue, taking away all household automobiles in St. Lucie County, will only produce an estimated contributional benefit toward saving the planet of $11.6 million per year. I must add, this is the maximum benefit that could possibly be attained, assuming every county resident participated and sacrificed their personal automobile. There undoubtedly will be some percentage of residents, probably a majority, who would never give up their automobile regardless of cost. Remember what we said, costs equal unknown, but huge. We've now calculated benefits, 11.6 million maximum. Seems pretty obvious to me this cost-benefit analysis is already way out of whack. By supporting the 750 plan, this board would be condoning massive uprooting of residents' lifestyle and taking away of their cars for a relatively paltry environmental economic benefit. To put $11.6 million into perspective for you, over the annual course of 26 board meetings, your board approves over $500 million of expenditures, an average taxpayer expenditure rate of $20 million per board meeting. This 750 benefit to St. Lucie County residents thus merits no more attention than 1/2 of one board meeting at most. Bottom line, as your personal legacy, do you wish to be known 50 years from now as the commissioner who approved imposition of massive social reengineering upon St. Lucie County residents for the minuscule estimated benefits toward saving our planet that I have outlined here? I urge you to withdraw from 750 now while you still can. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman Maury, Phyllis Fry, 275 Date Palm Road, Vero Beach. Whether it's happening in Westchester County or San Francisco or Chattanooga, Connecticut, or right here in St. Lucie County, the Sustainable Communities Regional Governance Plan is the same. All across America, citizens are losing their rights. Entire communities will be forced out of their private homes into upward sprawl, out of their cars and into mass transit. A social reengineering bill, SB 1619, to restrict residents in the suburbs and rural areas and force Americans into city centers has been passed in the United States Senate Banking Committee and is on the fast track to passage in the Senate. The carrot? Millions in government grants to locally elected officials in exchange for agreeing to amend the zoning laws that will allow for social reengineering of our communities. So, what's wrong with regional governance? Nothing. unless you value state sovereignty, fiscal responsibility, local decision-making, property rights, individual freedom, and the constitutional principles upon which this country was founded. Regional government diminishes the power of local governments by conferring increasing levels of authority until locally elected officials are no longer part of the plan. China, the masters of social reengineering, is leading the way by forcing 250 million people off their land into stack and pack sustainable communities. Can't happen here. It is happening here. 750 is the master plan in Southeast Florida for relocating entire populations against our will. In keeping with Secretary of HUD Sean Donovan's recent press release, he states that the federal government is embarking on the most ambitious social reengineering project ever undertaken through demographic mapping of every neighborhood in every community in the United States. His words, not mine. Funded by HUD, 750's required social equity analysis and opportunity index report is in full compliance with Secretary Sean Donovan's social reengineering plan, and they are both in compliance with the President's Council on Sustainable Development, initially signed by former President George H.W. Bush in 1992, subsequently signed by former President Clinton into Executive Order 12852 at the United Nations in 1993, and further signed into executive order by the current administration. This will be done, they hope, without our knowledge, without our consent, without our vote, but with our tax dollars. But don't take my word for it. You've seen it firsthand. 750's plan for St. Lucie County was succinctly summarized in the words of 750's own revered keynote speaker, a consummate profiteer who spoke at the May 17th meeting which I attended, and you, Chairman Maury, chaired. Yes, Andre Dwani, a proud globalist who put the United Nations above our own U.S. government, but then the UN is the source of the document for 750's Sustainable Communities Plan, as per not one, but two presidential executive orders. So, Dwani was quite right to subjugate our government, including you, our locally elected officials, to 750's rules. Unfortunately, 750 has withdrawn Dwani's presentation from public access on their website, but his entire representation can be viewed for your convenience on our www.ac4pr.org site. Dwani outlined 750's plan rather succinctly, don't you think? I'll remind you of some of his quotes from that meeting. Quote, "We need to transcend the local. Cities are less important. Only mega regions are important. We need to stop having these public meetings. Just get on with the plan and pass it. We only need a few people to make these decisions. Top-down government's best. Bottom up, everybody gets to talk about nothing forever. We, 750, decides who makes what decisions and then download to others later. Those who secede from us, we will crush you. Miami and Cuba need to become a sister state." End quote. I assume Mr. Dwani meant communist Cuba, unless there is another Cuba out there somewhere that I'm not aware of, but I digress. Quote, "Miami needs to become South America. This is where we can dominate. We can throw an election. Everything must be planned, not to the convenience of the landholder." And I'll leave you with my personal favorite. "Say what you will about fascism, but it's efficient." End quote. Dwani summed up 750's plan, and on their top-down government dictates very well. Is this what you support? Is this representative government? Your constituents are requesting that you withdraw from 750. Now is the time. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fry. Just as a quick note, Ms. Fry, I'm not the chair of the Regional Planning Council and was not chair at all of that meeting. I am a member of four members of our board are, and that's just a state-established board. So I just want to make sure that's clear. And when it comes to Dwani, that was a crazy speech, and I'm with you there. So, but I want to make sure we're always clear on the facts with that. So, yeah, thank you.
Chairman Maury, Commission. My name is Mark Gotts, 154 Northwest Magnolia Lakes Boulevard, speaking on 750. And I would like to reiterate what the last speaker stated, which was educate yourself on this issue. This is very important to the taxpayers of this county, and you can do that by going to www.ac4pr.org. It's an expansive website that will give you all the arguments on 750. What I'd like to do now is recap my last discussion where we were talking about Building One America. And I mentioned that one of the items that Building One America was going to be involved in was identifying high opportunity, middle opportunity, and low opportunity areas to address with their Sustainable Communities Initiative. Well, as the previous speaker just mentioned, the Sustainable Communities Initiative is being led by HUD, and they have now decided that they are going to blueprint every community in the country. Well, we must be one of the lucky ones because basically they've already started the blueprint here in Fort Pierce and St. Lucie County, and they have defined some high opportunity areas, which are the barrier islands, North Hutchinson Island, South Hutchinson Island, downtown Fort Pierce, PGA Village, and St. Lucie West. These areas are high priority. Now, if you remember, the high priority areas are the areas where they want to incorporate the ability to go in and create social equity through housing. This would mean that HUD, after they've done their blueprint, will be able to come into our communities and decide whether we have a racially balanced, equality balanced, socially balanced community. That's every gated community in this county. By doing this blueprint, they are establishing the basis to then decide what the rules are going to be as to what defines equality, and those people who will be making these decisions are not you, which is unfortunate. This will be the regional plan. This will be HUD, which is part of the 750, HUD, EPA, and DOT. We've said it a numerous amount of times that these are the entities that will be making the decisions for the people in St. Lucie County. St. Lucie County will have the ability, though, to pay their proportionate share of whatever the federal government decides it wants from us at that point in time. I'd like to now move to your Memorandum of Understanding, which was signed back in 2010, and I think only one, maybe two commissioners are still on the commission from that point in time. And in your Sustainable Community Initiative, Memorandum of Understanding for the Southeast Florida region, the background states that a set of guiding livable principles and a federal interagency partnership agreement is intended to guide their efforts in coordinating federal housing, transportation, and other infrastructure investments designed to protect the environment, promote equitable development, and to help address the challenges of climate change, which has already partially been discussed today. Congress provided a total of $150 million to U.S. HUD for the SCI program to encourage regional planning efforts and integrate housing, transportation decisions, and increase state, regional, and local capacity to incorporate livable, sustainable, and social equity principles. Well, you ask, how is that going to affect the citizens of St. Lucie County? Well, for those who live in HOAs on the beach, or in my area out in Port St. Lucie West, it's very simple. HUD is going to map it and decide whether you have enough affordable housing in your particular community. And if you don't make the number, then basically you have two choices. You can create it, or the federal government will create it for you. This is blockbusting. This is what in the real estate industry is known as blockbusting, where a community is broken up from its initial setting and created to do something else, to break into it. This is an outreach by the federal government into our local government systems. The regional plan is the map that they're using to incorporate this. I would suggest you not only get out of your MOU, but I would suggest that you start fighting this. Because let's face it, when you're dealing with the federal government, it's like two wolves and a lamb sitting discussing what they're going to have for dinner. And unfortunately, St. Lucie County is the lamb. Educate yourself. Go to our website, ac4pr.org. Educate yourself and understand what's coming at us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gotts. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens of Port St. Lucie. You'll have to bear with me. This is the first time I have spoken before you. I hope it won't be the last. As a form of introduction, I'm a mechanical engineer and a LEED accredited professional, and I have over 50 years of working in the built environment. And it is this that I bring to the table. 750 is currently an idea. It's a vision, and it's being put into a plan, okay? The plan is not solid, it is not gelled. It's due to be presented this fall. However, the vision is out there, and it does not represent the wishes, the wants, or the needs of our community. And I address our neighbors. Back in the early 60s, remember I-95? Some of you may have been around there, a lot of you may not have been here. But when I-95 was proposed to run all the way from Maine to Florida, it was routed as determined by the local communities. Cities and county commissioners that were subject to their special interests were the ones who made the decisions as to where I-95 was going to run through their communities. And in some locations, saw an opportunity for redevelopment in their cities. One such city was Overtown, Florida. Overtown, Florida. Okay? A neighborhood located directly north of downtown Miami. A beautiful neighborhood. This historic community was once recognized as the epicenter and mecca of music in Miami. A major tourist attraction, Overtown was known as the Harlem of the South, and as such was a repository of Black culture and achievement. Black headliners, such as one of my favorites, Nat King Cole, and Ella Fitzgerald, used to stay there, party there, do entertainment there. And they had to stay there while they were doing entertainment at the Fontainebleau and other fancy Miami hotels. This was the era of segregation. However, that didn't keep this wonderful town from attracting people from all over the United States because of the culture, the music, and everything they had to offer. Unfortunately, the city of Miami decided to route I-95 directly through the heart of Overtown. Directly through the heart of Overtown. And almost overnight, this beautiful, vibrant community, this cultural center, was decimated. And of its 40,000 people, more than 30,000 people left. That was 50 years ago. 50, as in 750. 50 years ago, decisions were made that destroyed a community. 50 years of decay later, and Overtown is not fully recovered. As for the elected officials, they have misspent millions of dollars under the guise of redevelopment, improvement, public housing. I quote the May 17, 2004 Urban Planet site. In the last decade alone, politicians have poured more than $70 million in public funds into the Overtown area with little benefit of any kind. This was determined by the Miami Herald. The Miami Herald that had supported most of what was going on. Over the years, many urban design and planning experts, one of which was Dover Cole and Partners. Have we ever heard of them before? Guess what they came in and tried to do? They were paid big bucks to develop a plan. Is it there? What do you think? Okay? The monies were misspent. They were misspent on hiring people over and over again to come up and prepare a plan for their shining future. Wow. I got excited there, guys. Sorry.
And just for the record, I also need to get your name because we didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And your address. Thank you.
My name is Thelma Como.
Okay.
I reside at 2746 Southeast Eagle Drive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just as a quick reminder, I know we've done this before, but for the microphone, because of the fact that we have to comply with federal law as it relates to the translation of this to be able to provide it for hearing impaired, if they can't see it on the camera and pick up the audio, then we get staff later saying, well, what did they say? And we want to make sure we get that accurate. So if you wouldn't mind helping us stay with the microphone and with the camera, it helps us remain in compliance with that as well. So thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sam Somley. I'm at 2746 Southeast Eagle Drive, Port St. Lucie. You just heard from my wife. We have a small company that specializes in data centers. And we have, when we start making plans at a data center, we have what we call a charrette. And we bring in the people that are involved, that are going to be using the data center, that own the data center, that are looking for products from the data center, anybody with skin in the game. And we call them in and say, what is it you want and what is it you need? And then we go from there and put together a plan to build this data center for them. And everybody's got their input into it. We go back years later into these data centers. We get called back in for upgrades or whatever. So we have a lifetime commitment to these data centers. And we have to make sure that everything is done right in the beginning. The 750 group has had what they call charrettes that I think 99.9% of the public don't even know that's going on. And they're the people that are affected by it. The 750 groups are, in college, the only person they had to satisfy was a professor. If they came up with a plan with a professor like that was fine. So now they still operate on that principle that if they like the plan, it doesn't matter what we want, it's what they want. And that's what they decide, and that's what they come up with, and that's what they push. And we don't need that. We need to have our input into it and not just go by whatever they think it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Matthew Renson, Port St. Lucie, Florida. I've been here before, you know me. There's not much more I can say than what's already been said, actually. Those of us who take the time to monitor our government are angry. Why is that? Because we spend more time than not trying to prevent our government from doing something stupid rather than something smart. And 750 is in that category. We've given you hundreds of reasons why 750 should not be passed, versus only one reason that it might be passed. That one reason, money, is the reason. You're being bribed with your own money, with our own money, and that should make anyone mad. It goes through our taxes to the federal level, it comes back to us, and it really should stay here in the first place. We'd be better trying to find ways to keep our money here than to go after these grants. All right, we need tax reform. This 750 plan is tantamount to the central planning that the Soviets implemented before they collapsed. It is communism light. It isn't even that light. It does not fit in our society or our Constitution. And I don't understand why it has taken so long for this Board of County Commissions to vote against this monster. It's a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mary Burton. I reside at 5209 Silver Oak Drive in Fort Pierce. I'm here, of course, about 750. I wanted to address you in a different way today. I do have some questions. I know it's a comment section, but they are rhetorical, and no answer is requested. I have a statement to make, that I think this board has forgotten that we are sovereign citizens. I think we've forgotten that we're sovereign citizens. We are sovereign citizens of St. Lucie County, of the state of Florida, and of the United States of America. And I need to try to figure out at what point in time that you, our elected officials, asked for our permission to give away our sovereignty. When you were presented with an MOU that you committed us as citizens to a regional plan that does away with our voice and our elected officials and hands us over to an undetermined entity. When did you ask permission to do that? When did we give permission for you to give away our sovereignty to an unknown entity? We elected you to be our guardians, to guard our land, our water, our communities. At no point in time did we say it was okay for you to give that authority to someone else. We are here, and we will be here every meeting to ask you to remember that we are sovereign. We do not give you permission to turn us into serfs and to turn us over to another authority. You have no right to give away our boundaries. You have no right to turn us into a region which we do not accept as a free people. I carry with me today HUD paperwork that will be filled out with information about all of us. We're already on the 750 data warehouse, all of us. We have been profiled in every way you can imagine. I know where all the black people live in our region. I know where all the white people live. I know where all the people with bachelor's degree lives. At what point do you have the right to take us, disseminate all our information, and give it away, and map us? I think we're losing scope of who we are. We're free American citizens. We are not to be given away. We're not to be herded into a region. We have the freedom to live in St. Lucie County, and we're exercising that freedom. And at no point in time did we ever give you permission to change that. Now we're here as a community to tell you that we are your citizens, that we gave you permission to guard us and take care of us and to do your oath as you swore to do. Giving us away was not part of that oath, and we would like you to respect it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jim Morris. I live at 10622 Southwest Hartwick Drive, Port St. Lucie. Mary stole a little bit of my thunder, particularly about the intrusion of the federal government into our lives. And just a few weeks ago, I got a letter from the Chamber of Commerce from up in Indiana. It was from the federal government. And they wanted to know all about me personally. And I thought, you know, we do have a census, but what's this about? So at first, they called, and I didn't respond. Then they called again, and then finally, I checked them out and found out that it was legitimate. I thought perhaps it was, you know, some scam. So, at any rate, I called them up, and on the phone, they were asking me all personal questions about me, what benefits I receive, which I only get Social Security, okay? And I said, that's it. They asked how much I made, how much I was getting and everything. And I said, well, you know, you could probably find that out somewhere else. I mean, you know, you've heard about the NSA intrusion into our lives, which we've had now. And also the fact that with the IRS, the IRS now being in charge of taking over the affordable health care, which is really going to be fun. I thought they were in business to concentrate on gathering in our revenue and not doing the health care as well. I don't think that's maybe a good match for us as well. But this is the thing, is this 750 plan, you know, you're all here, and whether you like what you hear or not many times, okay, we can see you and you can see us, all right? And I like that. That's democracy. That's what democracy is about. I mean, you might come out of here sometimes saying, geez, that person said that or that, and, you know, you didn't like it. But, you know, it's democracy. You get the feeling of how people and who you represent. So that's an important thing. And I feel that if you go to the regional plan, if you go regional, who are we, a regional commission or something, who are we going to talk to? You know, I mean, you guys are going to lose a lot of your authority. And, you know, you hate to say it, but you're going to be empty suits, you know, because you won't have that much authority over things. I think Mr. Johnson's a lifetime resident of this area, aren't you?
Yes.
You mean to tell me that the federal government's going to come in here and tell you, you've lived here, you know the people, you know the streets, you know everything around here. They're going to tell you you know more about your district than they do? I don't think so. I mean, that's why you were elected, and you were all elected. That's important. You weren't appointed, you were elected, okay? And that's important to me. I don't care what party you are, because this shouldn't be about party politics. This is something that is important, that impacts all the people in this county, all right? And I think you should do the right thing and reject 750. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hello again. My name is Stephanie Austin, 6250 Arrowhead Lane, Vero Beach. My husband works just down the street, so I care what happens here. I'm from a long line of Democratic family members, and you only need look to California to see what's happening there. And I've been looking in particular at the city of Sausalito and how they are struggling against this. They have been fighting 2 or 3 years now. This issue of regionalism involves two aspects. I believe in diversity in every way. They went about in Sausalito proving that they already have enough housing for every record of income. They proved it. A PhD, and Phyllis has the information. I've forgotten her name, but I hadn't planned to talk. Usually I have a dissertation when I'm up here. I have a manifesto or something, but they've proven that they have proper housing, and still the regionalists are coming in. Also, another group in the Bay Area, her name is Heather Goss and Mimi Sims, and they have a video out on this where they describe the other issue is climate change. They went around to all the various members of ABAG, and they asked them, well, you know, it's supposed to be reducing greenhouse gases. Not one of them has measured greenhouse gases. And I think with ICLEI, if you're a member of ICLEI, you're not a member of ICLEI, thank God, but I think Palm Beach is, and several other cities in the region, which has taken on a new connotation for me. Region is doesn't have the same meaning anymore, but I think that's part of the software, isn't it, that you're supposed to be able to measure greenhouse gases. Well, nobody's done that. So the reasoning behind it, it's really about control. It's not about really diversity. It's not about the climate. It's the cloak of those things. We already believe in freedom. We're freedom-loving people, but we are not the control of 750. I mean, and by the way, thank you. I want to, Chairman Maury, thank you for clarifying that you weren't a co-chair of the meeting that day. It was a shocking meeting. You could hear, it's on the audio, people gasping when Dwani spoke. And by the way, his new video is out where he's working with Scotland in the true globalist sense. I'm sure trying to reduce greenhouse gases there too that are unmeasured. But please look into this. It is not a good thing. Look up the definition of a Soviet. It describes 750. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
The woman that did all the studies in Sausalito, her name is Linda Pfeiffer, and she is a PhD. The article is One Point of View. We have everything to help those in need. the other one that I looked up was Sausalito leaders have mixed reactions to Corte Madera bagging ABAG. And they went around, oh my goodness, they looked at every type of housing from people who live on boats to people who have guest houses to people who rent out bedrooms to every type of housing. And they have it there for every income level. They proved it, but still they're coming in. And now they've launched a lawsuit. Pacific Legal Foundation is taking on the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time and effort that you've been providing to us with your comments. In fact, I know myself, I love how it challenges us and it causes us to think about things. Everybody has differences of opinion in terms of how they look at things, and I find myself frustrated as I look even at where technology has taken us in some respects. I have debates. I have a new high school daughter. She's now in 9th grade. 9th grade, isn't that great? 9th grade. Can't believe I'm that old. So my daughter and I, we debate cell phones and things like that because I said, I don't like being tracked. I don't like the fact that when I go into a mall now, it tracks and tells me how long I've actually, they can tell me how long I've been standing in front of the jewelry counter. They know what's going on with every movement that I make. And I hate the fact that, you know, they, through whether it's Facebook or my daughter keeps me up to speed on whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, all the things that I don't want to do.
What are those?
What are those? All the things that I don't want to do, how she informs me, how they check in at all the locations. And so, you know, I don't want people to know where I am every single second. And it is interesting as we go through that aspect, whether it's my cable company and the fact that they know how many seconds I watch every single channel, or whether it's people that, you know, realize all the different things and how we have, in some ways, taken on technology in some respects, but lost things in others. But thank you for your time and efforts again this morning. We appreciate for your thoughts. Just one little thing, and I appreciate this. I like the fact that you all are fact-checking yourselves as well, because there are sometimes things that are stated that you all, even as some of the organizers know, are not always correct, and we appreciate when you help correct those, because there are some things. The 750 plan and the Regional Planning Council are two separate things. Sometimes I keep seeing those getting blurred together. The Regional Planning Council is a state-established agency. Every municipality and every county has to appoint members to that, and those members are there, including members that are active anti-750 participants in some of the other counties. They're also members on this. So that is the Regional Planning Council. The 750 plan was a plan, as you all have demonstrated, that has been provided by these different agencies. And then the Regional Planning Council for the Treasure Coast and the Regional Planning Council down from the Miami area, they combined together as the applicant for that study that was then funded by those federal agencies. And so I like how you all are helping to fact check that, so that way people that hear things don't hear things in a manner that causes more confusion, because I have people coming back and saying, you know, they're a new elected board. There's no elected board there. In fact, the regional planning councils are made up of all elected officials for those two entities, except for governor appointee members. So the governor is able to appoint several members to that board as well, and that's what your regional planning councils are. There's been a push as well by Governor Scott and others at certain points to even get rid of the regional planning councils, and that's, you know, probably legislation soon to be heard, even as things move forward, but just to help in those respects. So thank you all for your comments this morning. With that, anyone else wishing to address the public? Okay, we're going to close our general. One more. See, look at that. I should have closed it. I'm kidding you.
David Love, and I'm a new
I'm sorry, David Love?
David Love, L-O-V-E.
Okay.
I'm a new resident along with my wife here in St. Lucie County. We're at 3110 North A1A. I'm a neighbor of Pete. And okay, how's this?
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, everybody can hear me now. I do not have anything prepared. However, I would like to express my opinion on 750, excuse me. Anyway, myself and wife, we're both like-minded in this issue. But I'm really not speaking on our behalf. This issue concerns me deeply. There's a fork in the road right now, with or without the regional planning. I'm very concerned that if we take the wrong road, life will be a little different in the future. This concerns me, especially with new grandchild on the way. I'm up here on behalf of him, or I wouldn't be here today at all. I'm concerned with this. I appreciate your time and your interest in this, and just be very careful by what you vote for and accept. This is a serious issue, and as you can hear today, there's some reservations with a lot of learned folk that know a lot more than I do. But I know one thing: I'm not for this. And on behalf of my grandchild and yours as well, the folks that are yet to come, it's a serious issue. Many, many years and lives will be changed in which direction we would like to go. Please don't choose the wrong fork in the road. Be very systematic in this, very learned, but go to your hearts and examine it, and do the right thing, folks. We're all in this together. This is a wonderful community. Be very careful for what you vote for, because our generations following us are going to be living in it. Unfortunately, we don't want to leave them with the wrong answer here, with the wrong direction. For goodness sakes, this is a very, very serious issue. And thank you for your time. I'm not here to lecture you guys, but please be very serious in your deliberations. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to turn to the consent agenda. Any items any commission member wishes to have pulled for a separate vote or separate discussion this morning?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull warrants list 45 for a separate vote, at which time I'll be abstaining.
Mr. Chairman, move approval.
I have a motion to approve warrants list number 45. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, there are a few items from the Resident Support Services Division. I just want to have a brief discussion. I don't know if Stephanie Meyer is here. A lot of these are very good things for our community, and we have been looking for, and this board has been very supportive of finding transportation for veterans to the hospital, as well as especially those who are in wheelchairs. And I don't know, is Stephanie here? She's here. Oh, there she is. Yeah, I just want to ask, are these opportunities going to help us find additional transportation for veterans? And then also, we have discussed at the Transportation Planning Organization 5310, a program which may help us in securing capital and administrative costs so that we can get our veterans who are paralyzed to, or at least in wheelchairs, they may be lacking limbs or paralyzed and so on and so forth. Can you just kind of share with us kind of where we are in that? And I think it's important because a lot of veterans are coming back now with debilitating injuries such as lost legs, and so I just want to make sure that St. Lucie County is prepared to help them.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. The department itself is always looking for opportunities to assist residents in the community. Veterans is no exception. This particular grant that you're approving today is strictly for capital, and the goal of that is to set up the infrastructure to establish a one-call center so that we will have one number that residents can call to identify what is the best transportation option for them. The Florida Transit Administration and the Veterans Administration work together to establish this funding with a focus on being able to assist veterans and their families in the community. So I wanted to clarify that that is specifically for capital purchases. We are very aware that this is a wonderful system, but we need to come up with operating dollars to be able to generate the trips needed so that we can be most effective with this new infrastructure. And we have had an ongoing search for operational dollars in that sense. The program that you're talking about is to purchase a modified vehicle to assist those individuals who are need a wheelchair accessible vehicle is one that's been managed by the Florida Department of Transportation, and they provide 10% of the match under that particular program. It has been offered to our area to be able to administer that grant. We have been hesitant to do that at this point because that means that whoever is applying for that grant, which is a nonprofit, has to generate an additional 10% of match. So we are definitely exploring that. We are looking at the opportunities associated with it so that we can maximize our ability to serve our transportation disadvantaged residents in the community.
And again, and Mr. Chairman and Ms. Myers, I want to say thank you to you, the entire Community Services Group, of course Wayne Teagarden at Veterans Services here in the county. You do a great job, and I'm just appreciative of the effort that you all put together. And of course, this Board of County Commissioners, without your support, they can't do what they do. So I want to thank you for your support of our veterans in our community services area. So thank you very much for sharing that information. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried unanimously. Moving on this morning, we'll go to item 8, public hearings. We'll begin this morning with our County Attorney's Office. Good morning, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item, I believe, is going to be handled by Joanne Riley. She's present.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Good morning,
Yes.
Mr.
Good morning,
Chairman,
Ms. Riley.
members of the board. For the record, Joanne Riley, Property Acquisition Manager. Item 8A is a public hearing to consider 14 parcels surplus as authorized by Section 125.35 of the Florida Statutes and Ordinance Number 11014. The 14 parcels, as shown in yellow, were escheated to the county due to lack of payment of taxes. All of these parcels are vacant and range in size from 0.01 acres to 0.29 acres. The 2013, trim notices value the parcels from $0 to $4,300. The Property Acquisition Division did reach out to all county departments to see if there were any needs for these parcels with no interest expressed. 12 of the 14 parcels appear to be of insufficient size and shape to be issued a building permit for any type of development, and this will be confirmed by the county building department. On July 16th of 2013, this board approved permission to advertise this public hearing this morning. County staff did publish a notice of intent in the St. Lucie News-Tribune on July 25th. Staff recommends that the board declare the 14 parcels surplus and to direct staff to dispose of the parcels according to Ordinance 11014. Beth Ryder and I are available for any question that the board may have.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman, when we don't, Joanne, when we don't sell these properties, what happens? We just have to maintain them and until such time as we can divest of them. Is that accurate?
Commissioner Mallory, Commissioner Zadowski, yes, that would be correct.
Okay, the last time we had this come forward, it spurred some comment, and it may have happened in Port St. Lucie, but I'm not familiar. But Fort Pierce actually took their vacant properties and offered them in their community for community gardens. I know that IFAS has been out there and helping create community gardens. I'm just wondering, based on what I'm seeing here, there may be some neighborhood associations in the vicinities of these properties. If they are not sold or not divested of, would it be something that this board would support to look to the HOAs to see if they'd be interested in doing a community garden? I think it's good for the community to be involved and to know your neighbor. But as importantly, some areas may be more in need of fresh vegetables, and again, IFAS has provided free services to some areas in helping them create community gardens. So I think in the best interest of the community is to have these properties divested of course. But if in the meantime a neighborhood association might be interested in maintaining them and creating community gardens, it'd be beneficial to each of the communities. So I'm just looking for my board to see if there's something we could possibly support or ask staff to look into to see if we can utilize those properties better. So,
the pleasure of the board.
I don't know that I have a problem with that. I would say, having developed several gardens in the North Fort Pierce area already, I would just want to know that they're going to be maintained. Two of them that were developed look worse than they did when we began.
Really? Okay. That's information I didn't know.
And so it was one that, you know, we started it, everything was donated, all the effort on the, I'm sorry, what's the volunteer day that we had? Drawing blank on the name of the annual volunteer day. We had probably 40 volunteers help with the one, and it was great, and it was in fact right at a facility where it would be aiding those people with the facility. And we even had cute little signs made and all these different things tied in, and went by there again probably 3 weeks ago, and I see just weed strewn.
That's unfortunate.
Terrible in terms of how it looks. But if there's a way to make it happen and work, I know they've been very successful in other communities. I love the idea. I think it's a neat program. Allows people to get fresh vegetables. There are some people that maintain, and they, I think, have rarely had vandalism issues. I mean, sometimes that is an issue, but I think they can patrol it and set that up themselves. And if that's a program, I'm willing to provide the tool to help work on that.
I don't expect us to have an answer today. I just really, you know, kind of investigate. I think that's good information that you've provided that I was unaware of, and I think it probably is a serious issue. We don't want to create more of a problem. We wanted to fix it, so maybe we can just look into it.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I'd like to find out if that is the case with those gardens in that community, who is responsible for that garden. And then once we find out who the person is responsible for the garden, if they can do a permanent upkeep of the garden, I think the situation is promising. You got to have scenarios when as you give inner city kids something to do. That's really a problem. That's part of the problem with some of the shooting that's going on. Kids are trying to find things to do. And unfortunately, these things that they're finding to do is to be around the wrong people at the wrong time. And it's incumbent upon me as an adult and others who are from the community, and Commissioner Dostey, that's his district, he's going to take part in the community, to be active and be seen and also be a part of guiding and encouraging. Like the lady made a statement doing public speaking. We have a village, and it's up to us to raise that village collectively together.
And that's why these work well. The problem is you develop it, and everybody's on board when you develop it. They love that aspect.
And that's why
the maintaining, and it's the daily, weekly that becomes a problem. And with the gardens, one of the biggest disadvantages we've had is water, and trying to find a way to get a water source to that. And so then if you're trying to set up an address with a water source, now you're trying to create a water tap, and then who's keeping it on, who's turning it off. And then they found out if they just left it unsecured, then people were turning it on and leaving it and going, and then causing issues. And
somebody's got to be
responsible. They were trying to secure and lock it down, and then when they did that, then they still had to try and bring hoses regularly, so then it wasn't getting watered, and it just compounded, and it became, well, then who was supposed to bring the lawnmower by to mow the other? Oh, boy, and before we knew it, it was an awesome idea, and I've seen it. In fact, when we were in D.C., I went to check on the one right across from the Aerospace Museum again, just to see what they were doing. And they had a neat little garden. And I spoke to the lady, and she said, there are 3 of us that keep it up. And I said, only 3 of you? She's like, yeah, we used to have a big committee, but there are only 3 of us that really keep. And I thought, this is right smack dab downtown D.C. by the Capitol.
I think it can work. I just think that if you can come back and find out who could be responsible for that, and hold them accountable, I think it's something that can work.
Okay. Moving on.
It's a public hearing. We have to open the public.
Any other questions for staff at this point? With that, this is a public hearing. We will open for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on this item, please feel free to do so. Seeing no movement, we will close the public comment portion of this public hearing. Return to the board.
Mr. Chairman, move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next, we have Environmental Resources, public hearing, item B. This is ordinance 2013-38. It's a shoreline protection section of the Land Development Code. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Give me a second to pull up the slideshow. Which one's slideshow? Slideshow. Thank you. For the record, Amy Griffin, Environmental Regulations and Lands Manager with Environmental Resources Department. Before you this morning is the Shoreline Protection Code revisions. The Shoreline Protection section of the Land Development Code details the regulations regarding development along the river shorelines located in unincorporated St. Lucie County, specifically the Indian River Lagoon, the North Fork of the St. Lucie River, 10 and 5 Mile Creeks, and their tributaries. These waterways are valuable natural resources, and it is in the best interest of St. Lucie County to preserve the shorelines and the adjacent uplands of these waterways because they provide habitat, filter pollutants from stormwater, prevent erosion, and protect water quality. Over the years, staff has received a number of requests for variances from these requirements. Typically, the variances are due to constraints of small lots and the need to build homes or accessory uses within a portion of the shoreline buffer, or the need to address severe shoreline erosion. While reviewing these projects, staff has identified several elements of the code that contribute to a confusing and arduous process. And the intent of the proposed revisions is to develop a consistent, efficient, and predictable review process. This benefits the applicants while achieving the same protection of natural resources for which we have always strived. The proposed revisions do not decrease shoreline protection, nor do they increase increase restrictions. The revisions do include clarifications to the existing requirements, codification of current practices, addition of greater flexibility in meeting the code requirements, and delegation of the variance approval authority to the ERD director. Specific buffer widths remain the same. However, the language was revised with the intent to make the requirements very clear. Buffers consisting of preserved or planted native vegetation are required. Removal of non-native vegetation is allowed. A private access and/or dock is allowed. Construction, development activities, motorized vehicles, and shoreline alteration are not allowed unless authorized by a variance. The requests for variances related to hardened shorelines are typically our most frequent requests. Hardened shorelines are armored, such as with seawalls, upland retaining walls, riprap in the form of coquina rock or other material. Hardened shorelines must meet specific design criteria provided by the appropriate jurisdictional agency, which is typically the Florida DEP. These structures are designed and installed by professional engineers. ERD reviews each project to determine if all alternatives have been explored and assist in finding the best solution to the problem. With all hardened shoreline projects, the upland buffer and littoral zone planting requirements must be met. Further clarification to the planting section was made by codifying the established standard restoration guidelines that are applied throughout the Land Development Code. These guidelines ensure that consistency is maintained from project to project. The locations of the planted materials within the buffer can be tailored to each site to maintain views and suit the desired appearance by the applicant. In an effort to assist the applicant to better provide long-term maintenance of the buffer, a preserve area management plan is required, containing a description of what will be planted, how to maintain it, and details on how to take care of it is required. The standards of review for reviewing a variance application remain the same for every single application. Denial of the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship for the applicant. Circumstances of the variance request are beyond control of the applicant. Granting the variance will not adversely affect the adjacent shorelines or injure other property or improvements in the immediate vicinity. Granting the variance will not adversely affect water quality or contribute to the shoreline erosion. And lastly, the project achieves the general intent and purpose of the Land Development Code and goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan. In current code, shoreline variances approval requires a public hearing before the BOCC. Let me say that, because this is the biggest change. In current code, shoreline variance approval requires a public hearing before the BOCC. The application cost for the variance is $850, and the applicant is responsible for paying for advertising costs. The preparation for a public hearing is a long and costly task for the applicant. Probably the most substantial change we are proposing to this code is to delegate variance approval authority to the ERD director. The applicant will still be held to the same standards of review that are outlined in this code. However, the process will be much swifter and much less expensive. Variance requests denied by the ERD director will be appealed to the Board of Adjustments. In summary, staff feels the code revisions will clarify shoreline buffer requirements and streamline shoreline variance process while preserving St. Lucie County's natural resources. As this is the first of two required public hearings, no action is required at this time, and the second public hearing is scheduled for September 3rd. I'm available for any questions.
Staff questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Griffin, a couple of things that the public can't see what we have in front of us for our background information, but a serious issue with shoreline protection is, of course, stopping nutrients from going into our waterways, which ultimately we're dealing with now, whether it be our own stormwater basin in the northern portion of the lagoon or the southern area of the Indian River Lagoon in Martin County with discharges from Lake Okeechobee. That said, first of all, I want to say I appreciate the effort that the Environmental Resources Department has gone through, and you specifically, as well as those in your department. This is long overdue, and I think that you've come up with a lot of great opportunities for success in helping development occur, but done smartly. A couple of things I want to point out, and you can clarify, talking about the clarification and codification of prohibited structures such as septic tanks, lift stations, and flood areas is an important part of this, so that when septic tanks may go into an area that are near water, this will help to stop that from occurring so that the leaching fields will not end up in our waterways. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. There's a section in the code that defines two different zones. Zone A is the buffer that is required to be preserved or planted vegetation. Zone B, and that can be 50 or 75 feet depending on where you're located along which water body. Zone B is 300 foot from the mean high water line and does prohibit activities such as a new septic system or a wastewater lift station, fertilizer storage areas, petroleum storage areas, those things. Unless, of course, there's a lot that's too small, it doesn't even have 300 feet to it, and then a variance would need to be sought and approved in order to get around that requirement. But the way that the code reads, that zone of 300 foot prohibits those activities, including a septic tank.
Okay. And then you also have on page, I guess it's 9 of 15, talks about the shoreline buffer, littoral zone cross section. It shows, if there is a shoreline protection such as riprap or some other material to shore up the shoreline, you have a vegetated buffer zone, which is some indicated distance, and then it's recommended a swale prior to that. That appears to me as though that would be a situation that would remove fertilizers and stop fertilizers from leaching into the waterways. Is that what this is about?
Commissioner Zadowski, exactly. That was something we began implementing and now is codified, and it was recommended actually with communications with Boyd Gonzalez of the South Florida Water Management District, and something that they've been promoting. It's kind of a attenuation of the stormwater, so it lets it settle out and filter out before it actually gets through the buffer and to the river. So.
Okay, and this also works in conjunction with, and again, everyone here knows that I'm not supportive of our current fertilizer ordinance, but actually, in our current ordinance, it does indicate that 10 feet from the shoreline, that fertilizer is not to be applied. Is that accurate? Does that work in conjunction with that ordinance?
Excuse me. Yes, Commissioner Zadowski, that's the way that the current approved model ordinance operates. 10 foot within the mean high water, the line of any water body, you cannot apply fertilizer. This should go farther in promoting de-promoting the use of fertilizer, because here you're going to have a native vegetative buffer, whether it's preserved or planted, and there's not going to be any need for fertilizer. So when we review that preserve area management plan, which includes the long-term maintenance and how to take care of these plants, there should be a section in there for us to address whether fertilizer should be applied or not, and truly, you know, in the case of good, healthy native habitats and native landscapings, fertilizer is not required.
The only question I have left is, you know, although it talks about the septic systems being, you know, further away from the shoreline, was there any discussion about requiring, if there is a sewer access in these areas, to, rather than permit a septic system, that they should and must tie into the sewer system? Has that been discussed?
I believe that's an existing code that the Planning Department and the Department of Health actually have someplace in their code that if there's sewer within a certain distance of a property and they're coming in for development or a permit, that they are required to tie into that, but
actually, I had the conversation with Lori a short time ago, so it is accurate. I just want to have that conversation so the public can understand that you know, rather than move into septic systems, it may be relatively cheap. I don't even know that it is anymore, the way septic tanks are costing $12,000 these days. But I think it's important that the public understand that it's important, if you are on the water, that you tie into a sewer system rather than have septic, because ultimately, if there is flooding, if there is a large rain event, ultimately those materials will wash into the waterways.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for those.
You're welcome. And I'm, if I may, there is one other thing that came up in speaking with the commissioners just before this, the meeting, that I think we've come up with a solution. One of the concerns was because it won't come to public hearing, that the public won't be notified, and that was correct. We want to propose for your support a solution in that we could mimic the growth management's the section of the code that requires a certain radius of neighbors around this particular, wherever an application occurs, those residents to be notified of this particular change. And so therefore the people that would be most affected would get the notice that this variance is being sought and would have the opportunity to provide their input.
Is that, excuse me, sir, was that distance to 500 feet that we normally use for any opportunity?
Yes, okay. 500 feet.
All right, and thank you for taking that extra effort. Because I was going to ask that when we came back to the board.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin, for the comments so far. A couple of things, and I know that this has been sort of a result of some things that have been going on with different properties and parcels that you have worked on, mainly on the St. Lucie River. I appreciate your staff's ability as you worked through some of those. I know they were difficult at times to try and figure out exactly how to make everything happen, and the process was fairly onerous at times. And so I know that this is a little bit of the solution to try and streamline the process and to make it work. A couple of questions. Are we the Board of Adjustment on that?
No, you're not the Board of Adjustment. There's a set board that is the Board of Adjustment.
Who's the Board of Adjustment to hear this variance should they not like the results?
We appoint them.
Yeah, we appoint.
No, but I want to make sure that is the Board of Adjustment. That are they prepared to be able to hear this type of an appeal?
They do it all the time.
That's just what's being recommended in the ordinance, realizing that you've taken us out of the process. Mm-hmm. Now it's going to that board. So I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that aspect. Okay,
Commissioner Mowry, yeah, that is what in consulting with the county attorney when we were drafting this ordinance, that their direction was that it's a process in this particular situation when a land development code is denied. The denial process is now to go to the Board of Adjustments. We have Environmental Resources Department has brought other issues to the Board of Adjustments that have involved environmental issues, and staff is there to guide and provide answers to the Board of Adjustments should they need any additional information. I don't know if that addresses.
I want to make sure the board is comfortable and realizes that aspect.
Right. Just to follow up, Commissioner, currently the code reads that appeals from determinations of staff members like the Planning and Development Services Director, those go to the Board of Adjustment. So this is consistent with that. Certainly the board could do something different if it wants. You could have the appeals come to you if you wanted, but this was something that, from the perspective of the code as it exists, this seemed consistent. If we're going to take the decision from the board to a staff member, there needed to be some appeal process, and consistently with what's in there now, we suggested the Board of Adjustment. But that's, as you've indicated, a decision for the board to make, and if you're not comfortable with that, there are options.
No, seeing that we're no longer going to be hearing any of these, and then since it normally would go from us to the Board of Appeals or Board of Adjustment, I wanted to make sure that this board's realizing we're cutting ourselves out completely in that sense. However, we are relying on the fact that most of these we're working through staff with a system that I think should work and that I'm hopeful is not going to become a challenging process for those applicants that are going through it, that we're actually making something that works better. And a lot of it was often time, in the fact that these people, everything was in place, they were set, but then they had to wait for the public hearing process to go forward with our body, and as a result, they're not having to go through that, but they're still going to meet the requirements that we would have held them to regardless, and they're going to be able to provide for that. Did I miss something?
Anyone say so?
No, sir.
No? Okay. As it relates to the PAMP as well, is there something that we have written out more specifically elsewhere on the Preserve Area Management Plan that details some of the items that are required in that? Because I know what's written in there seemed to be fairly brief, and I didn't know if there were going to be issues relative to that.
Commissioner Mowry, we actually have developed a template that we're ready to put onto the website at any time. We actually worked on it when we were going through all of the chapters 6 and 7 and 10, 11, and 12 code changes. We were going to have a administrative manual that was going to go along with everything, where we would cover all of that detailed information. Since that's kind of on the back burner right now, we have that available, and we can put that on our website and make it available to the public, a template that just guides you through how to write a Preserve Area Management Plan.
And some of these are just items that it'd be nice to make it easy for people to be able to apply to do this without always having to wonder what it is and then have to go through the process of hiring certain professionals on somebody that's just doing a little backyard project and is trying to make things happen, and now realize that perhaps going to be subject to fees and other things that will come along and make this project more challenging than what it should be.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for bringing this up. I was going to wait until it came back to us after public comment, but I just have a concern that, we have a great ERD department, but what happens when our people leave and we get somebody else that may not, feel the same love as we do from the board and to ERD, and they choose to approve things that we may not have selected. That aside, I just have some heartburn about taking the public side of this out, having the public hearing, having us have some part of this decision-making process. It appears to me that the only time that an appeal would occur is if they were denied from the staff level. And then if it were to go to the appeals, they would either approve or deny. But again, the final decision would not come to us. But without, and again, thank you for bringing up that you're going to notify those within 500 feet of the property. If in fact, is there a threshold in which if you get, I don't know, if you send out to some percentage of people or homeowners or interested parties, what then becomes the percentage that would then be brought to the board for discussion or to the appeals area?
Commissioner Zadowski, I believe that the way that the current code that Planning Department uses is 50% or more, but we can certainly flex that to be more appropriate to this particular section. If any resident next door or immediately adjacent or something like that shows that they're concerned about it or can provide evidence that it's going to actually damage their property or the water body, at this point, we're at your we'll take your direction how you want that written in there.
I just think there's something that we should do that really clarifies that if this, then this happens. Some percentage. Bless you.
Mr. Chair, can I just throw in, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because as much as I would like to streamline and I have faith in our staff, I do share Commissioner Sadowski's concerns on what about down the road if when all of us are gone as staff. But I don't see any other way of getting around the fees and the time frame to bring it back to us. So I don't have a problem with going to Board of Adjustments. What I would like to ask if the board would at least entertain adding not just the ERD director for an approval, but also the planning development director. That way we've got two different departments, and that's not to slight one division over another, but you've got two departments that are then overlooking and overseeing as a safeguard to those very issues. And I would also like to see if we could put this in possibly as a pilot program for a year or two, and then bring it back and get the reactions. Did it work? What types of issues did we run into that we may not have been expecting? It's not like that's the first time we've done that. We've done that in the past with things. But I think it's worth a shot to try this to see if it works, but also keeping the ability to come back to the board and do it the old way.
Ms. Smith, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Karen Smith, Environmental Resources Director. Commissioner Mowry and Commissioners, a suggestion for your consideration would be the intent behind this is just to make it easier on the applicant, not to change the regulations at all. It's very similar to what we did with the wall waiver when an applicant comes in for a wall and where a wall is required and they're able to get the neighbors to provide written permission that they have no problem with a waiver and providing landscaping in lieu of. What we could do in this situation is the same thing. As we advertise to the neighbors, if there's one applicant that opposes this, we could bring it to the board, we could bring it to public hearing. That way, you know, the board gets to hear it. And that's the way that the current wall waiver is written, that if the neighbors do not support the wall waiver, then it comes to the board for discussion. We could handle it exactly the same way. It doesn't have to go to the board adjustments. We could change it so that if there's any opposition to whatever the applicant is proposing, that it could come to the board and be heard by the board. The problem is that when we get into the public hearing, again, you're putting those costs, you know, and that time frame on the applicant. Our whole purpose in proposing this was just to, you know, not change any of the requirements whatsoever, just to make it easier for the applicants.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'm actually comfortable with the idea of adding the director from planning. I like that idea. I think that's a good idea. But I don't know that I'm in favor of trying to bring it back to the Board of County Commissioners due to the very reason why we started working on this. I don't mind the idea. In fact, it may be a good idea to look at the idea of a pilot program and doing something for a period of time and then having it brought back to revisit whether or not it's been effective or whether we even had any cases. So I don't mind that. I don't know if other commissioners have thoughts on that as well.
I'd support bringing it back as a trial period. I think, anytime in government you have the ability to look back and say, well, we've done something right or not and fix it. I think that would be a good thing. Let me just ask a question. If someone came to ERD with this picture that you see here and said, look, I want to put in a seawall. You've got a great shoreline protection area. You've got mature trees and shoreline vegetation. How would you take that as an application?
We would apply the standards of review, as Amy mentioned earlier, and walk them through that criteria. And
good response, wasn't it good?
And she's not even elected.
I'd say that was a political response.
No, but more than likely, just knowing a few of the standard reviews off the top of my head, it wouldn't meet the criteria for a waiver, so we probably would not approve a waiver in that instance. We're not seeing the erosion. A lot of times when people come in for the shoreline waivers, it's primarily because of erosion. Mm-hmm. It's not because they have a healthy shoreline and, they just want to put a seawall in. I mean, people don't normally want to take on that cost, unless there's a really significant reason to do so. And I would say probably 95% of the situations that we see are because of severe erosion. And in that case, some type of shoreline stabilization, be it a seawall or additional plantings or grading or riprap is warranted because it's better for water quality and also to preserve their property.
As it relates to the actual plantings, when I want to make sure I'm clear, because I know we don't have that section in front of us, which I don't recall if it's section 6 or whatever it is. If somebody is not able to provide, due to the space requirements or whatever, the certain number of littoral plantings that we're requiring, that then requires you to apply, is it section 6, whatever it is, as it relates to the variance standards? I just want to make sure that if they're not able to meet that, they clearly are working with you and staff, and then you're saying, well, hey, actually, let's do a modification, let's do this or that. How does that relate to what we're approving today?
Commissioner Mowry, exactly. And we just brought to you that same example. It was the Harrell shoreline variance down on south on Citrus. They had a very skinny lot. Their property was limited in what they could do. We had them put in the buffer that they could, their seawall, the littoral shelf on the coquina rock that they had planted at the base, or placed at the base. And then what they couldn't do, in certain circumstances, we could have them plant elsewhere on the property so that that buffering and that water quality is there on that same site. But if that site does preclude that from happening, in that particular case, we had them provide the same amount of plants, or they could provide a fee in lieu of. There's different alternatives. And we had that, we actually have that in a fund waiting to be planted on the Becker Preserve, because we have a lot of restoration to do just up the river on a piece of property called the Becker Preserve off of Selbit. So that money will go into restoring shoreline elsewhere along the same water body. So it's in effect hitting the same requirement that's needed, but they just couldn't do it on their parcel, so we'll make sure it gets done someplace on the river. And those flexibilities are now going to be written in there with the way that we've revised this shoreline code. So,
thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the board at this time, please feel free to do so. Seeing no movement, we will close the public hearing and return to the board. Any other closing comments? I heard consensus, but I want to make sure we have that for doing a test period. I assume that would be a one-year test, as well as adding in the Planning and Development Services Manager or Director.
And if we could get kind of an update when these plans come through, that if those of us who want to follow it, that we can kind of follow along and see how it goes, just from a staff perspective. It doesn't need to be a public hearing, but...
Okay.
But I just want to say, too, that, we've been trying to battle the issues of what we're seeing in our waterways today, and this is a very small step. As the conversation goes, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time? This is a step in the right direction to help keep nutrients out of our waterways, and I want to say thank you to the Environmental Resources Department. Planning Department probably had something to do with this thing, too, so I want to say thank you, because every small step makes a big difference in our waterways.
Okay. Did I miss anything on those items, Commissioner Hutchison?
Not that I'm aware of. If you're ready, I'll try the motion.
Okay.
As today's the first, I don't mean to interrupt, today's the first required public hearing, so no action is required. I come back to you for the second public hearing, and the one where you actually take a vote on. I have it scheduled for September 3rd, if all goes well.
But do we quantify what?
They're going to apply those tweaks to the proposed change.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're calling it, Mr. McIntyre. That's our technical term, the tweaks. He likes that term.
Thank you. I do like that. And if the board, I wrote these down. I got the one-year test. We add the Planning and Development Service Director to the approval process, and we're going to add notification within 500 feet to the adjoining neighbors. Those are the things that we will revise that and bring that back to you on September 3rd.
Mr. Chairman, just for the purposes of clarifying consensus, I would like to mention, as a brand new commissioner, I noticed I was required to make an appointment to the Board of Adjustments, and I endeared myself to the staff member. I think I probably convinced him I was a bloomin' idiot, but he's not here anymore, so that doesn't matter. But I said, excuse me, what are they adjusting? Board of Adjustments, what are they adjusting? I had no concept what that board might have been. But given the fact that I had an interesting introduction to that particular group, I have kind of kept an eye on their activities over the years, and the Personnel has changed, obviously, as folks have cycled on and off, but I think the Board of Adjustments has obviously done a really good job for us over the years. So I have great confidence in their ability to handle. That said, I think the fact that we would be adding a period of time and another director, I think more eyes are better than fewer, and I certainly support the adjustments that have been, the tweaks, pardon me, that have been suggested.
Excellent. Okay. That concludes that item. I do find myself thinking about the comment, though, that you made, Commissioner Sadowski, about our septic systems and how it relates. And I wouldn't mind having us look further into some of those aspects as it relates to shorelines and seeing if there's some areas for improvement that we could or should do.
I appreciate
and that's something that if staff can coordinate with that and just sort of circle up with us, maybe get a feeling from the other commissioners whether that's something that we would like to take a peek at. I wouldn't mind looking at.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to chime in on that one. I don't have a problem with it, but just to put it on the line, I think that conversation is going to be bigger than just this board. So before it would be brought to us, I would like to say that it includes all of the utilities throughout the county, whether you're in the city or not, need to also be part of those conversations.
Good thought.
And then I am extremely hopeful, and I'm using that in capital letters, that with the state doing their meetings this week on the water quality in regards to the lake, that will be part of the umbrella that is going to be looked at as far as clearing our waters up. And in conversations that I've already had, I've expressed to them that before we can mandate hooking up to having people off of septic tanks, which is something the state had looked at and turned down, that there needs to be mechanisms of incentives put there for the people to do so. Because I know when I personally have looked into it, it was the cost that has prevented it, not the fact that I don't want to, but the huge cost associated with it, with no benefit, if you will, because nobody's going to remove that septic tank out.
No, and that's why I think in many respects I'm thinking more about as future development begins to occur.
Right.
That area. Existing systems, that's a whole other beast.
Well, that's why I want to make sure when we get into those conversations that we know we've given direction as to what they're to include, because we can go off on 1,000 different directions.
Oh yeah, in fact, I was listening to a story just this past week about what's going on in Indian River County and the number of permits that have been flying through the system as people are quickly turning in septic tank permits for those along the waterway to try and beat certain things that are going on. It was rather interesting to see that. Anyway, let's move on.
Actually, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, there is already an ordinance, a Florida statute that speaks to that if in fact it's available, it just needs to be enforced.
Well, but that's often been the case, that it isn't available in many of these areas, which is why septic tanks have been provided. It's not usually the fact that usually if sewer is there, people would like to have it. But let's move on to item C. Planning and Development Services. We have a resolution regarding rezoning from AR1 to IH, Industrial Heavy. This is a quasi-judicial item.
Good morning. Britton Wilson, Senior Planner for the record, presenting item 8C, which is a county-initiated rezoning for 4 privately owned contiguous parcels totaling 27 acres. The proposal is going from AR1, or agricultural residential at 1 dwelling unit per acre, to IH, or industrial heavy zoning district. The purpose of the proposal is to bring the property into compliance with the previous 2004 board intention to rezone the property to IH through Resolution 04210. However, that resolution was rescinded in 2008 due to technical recording errors. The rezoning will also bring the property into compliance with the Midway Industrial Park plat and the industrial future land use designation. So this can be considered a housekeeping item. This is a public hearing which was advertised in the St. Lucie News Tribune on August 5th, of which there has been no public comment. The subject property is located just off of Midway Road, north of the U.S. Post Office and the Sheriff's Office. This aerial photo shows the subject property outlined in red. The parcels are mostly improved vacant lots, and the northern parcel is buffered by a canal. This slide shows the existing future land use designation of the subject property and most of the surrounding area as industrial. The property directly east is designated mixed-use development that is restricted to industrial zoning only. The public facilities or PF land use to the south is the sheriff and post office. This slide shows the subject property's existing zoning of AR1. The property to the west in gray is industrial heavy. To the north is the city of Fort Pierce industrial light, and the south is institutional. This is the Midway Industrial Park plat that shows the subject parcels here as lots 9, 10, 11, and 12. Again, this is a county-initiated rezoning. The owner has no development plans in the near future. And being that this is a county-initiated amendment that is over 10 acres, 2 public hearings are required. And so in order to bring the property into compliance with the previous board intentions, as well as compliance with the Midway Industrial Park plat, staff is requesting that this item be scheduled for a second and final public hearing for the evening of September 3rd. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? This is a public hearing at this time. I'd like to start with quasi-judicial. Any disclosures that anybody has to make?
No, sir.
No disclosures from any of the commissioners. We'll open to the public hearing at this time. Anyone wishing to address the board, please feel free to do so at this time. Seeing no movement, we'll close the public hearing, return to the board.
Mr. Chairman, move approval. Staff recommendation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Mr.
Motion.
Chairman, just for the record, this is just for the continuation for the second hearing, right?
This is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion carried. With that, let's turn to regular agenda. Begin again with the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items A1 through 5, or actually 1 through 6, relate to the Midway Road Improvement Project. Just a general comment, these relate to requests by staff recommendations that the board authorize the acquisition of the property by eminent domain. I want to say just generally, we try very hard to acquire all parcels through purchase, negotiations with the property owners. In this case, with that in mind, I'm actually requesting that we pull item A2. We did meet with the property owner for those parcels yesterday. They provided additional information which we plan on giving to our independent appraiser for review. It's the parcel that the board's previously discussed with a house on it. We're hopeful that we can negotiate a purchase to bring back to the board. So we're pulling item A2. The other remaining 5, actually 3 or 4 of those 5 are willing sellers, but they are unable to convey title clearly because they have judgments or mortgages that prevent them, and we're unable to get releases of the property. So those parcels should proceed without objection really by the property owners. We should be able to get a stipulated order of taking on those. There is one parcel that we have just had very limited contact and no ability to negotiate. On going to item 1, which is parcel 102, there's a board memo in your packet. If you'll turn to Exhibit B, which is on the last page, it really identifies the factors that the board is required to consider before deciding whether to authorize eminent domain, and those are safety. We're looking at this particular project. It is a hurricane evacuation route. As the board is aware of, anybody who's traveled that road, it's existing 2-lane road. It is one of the busiest roads in the county. The level of service is one of the worst in the county. So we're proposing to 4-lane the road and add left and right turn lanes at select locations. We've done the design in accordance with the uniform manual. It will significantly improve the safety on the road. The cost, this particular project has been in the county's 5-year road improvement program. We've made all reasonable efforts to minimize the right-of-way easement areas that we need to acquire, and we believe that the cost of the acquisition fits into this funding, and the acquisition is necessary in furtherance of the project. The long-range plan, this is consistent with our county's long-range plan. We have considered financial, environmental, and social constraints. We've looked at alternate routes. This is an existing road, so we're not building a new road in the middle of nowhere. This is we're simply expanding an existing road. We looked at going north or south. The current alignment balances the area needed to construct and maintains the improvements with overall impacts to landowners. So we did contemplate that. And in terms of environmental impacts, we did look at those. This, we believe, will have minimal negative impacts to the environment. Again, this is an existing road. We've already received permits through the appropriate environmental regulatory agencies. With regard to this specific parcel, this contains a total of 12,762 square feet. The impacted area is located in the front portion of the tract. There's a remainder tract of 5.982 acres. The parcel, if acquired, would allow for the widening of Selvets Road with related roadway and drainage features. Staff recommends that the board approve the resolution to acquire parcel 102.
Mr. McIntyre, would you like to have these parcels done together as one motion, or would you like separate motions for each?
If we could have separate motions, but I promise I will not do the presentation. I will just say move approval. All of the items that I talked about in terms of safety costs, long-range planning, alternate routes, and environmental impacts are the same for each of these parcels. But what I would prefer to do, because we're handling them separately, is if I could recommend that the board approve the resolution to acquire parcel 102.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification purposes, in your final statement, you may have just misstated. You said Selvets Road. You mean Midway Road, right?
Well, actually, what we're doing is Selvets and Midway. There's part of this there's intersection improvements to Selvets, and there's actually going to be built north on Selvets, I believe, some improvements, sidewalk improvements and other improvements there. The county engineer and the county surveyor are looking at me intently in the back there, and I know they have a lot more knowledge about this than I do, so if I've said anything incorrectly, please correct me.
That's okay. Just from the public standpoint, we started out with Midway and then we threw in Selvets. We have the background they didn't, so I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, sir.
There are intersection improvements. I believe the 25th Street in Midway is also being improved, and also the Selvets in Midway Road intersection is being improved as part of this. It will involve the 4-laning of Midway Road.
Thank you.
We have a resolution request for Resolution 2013-150. We have request to go along with staff recommendation related to the safety costs, long-range planning, alternative routes, environmental impacts, and acquisition items mentioned by the county attorney. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move staff recommendation for approval.
We have a motion to approve staff recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, we're taking every one of these, the 6 parcels separately, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Parcel 102, I'm sorry.
Okay. Parcel 102, that's the one that's in eminent domain. I just want to state for the record that I'm not for eminent domain, but in this case, it is for public safety, and every effort to negotiate has been done, and therefore I'm satisfied that we have done and taken every possible measure to avoid eminent domain, and I'll be supporting it as well.
Correct. There are 5 eminent domain requests this evening, or this morning. Item 2 has been pulled, which was the resolution 2013-151, which was for parcel 108. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Mr. McIntyre?
Thank you,
Item number
Mr. Chairman. As you just indicated, we are pulling item 2 because we are hopeful to negotiate that, and we'll move to item 3. This item is parcel 121. For the reasons previously stated, the same reasons, this particular parcel contains 495 square feet. There's a remainder tract of 1,007 square feet. This parcel allows for the construction of the western radius of the intersection of Midway Road and Jorgensen Road. And I believe this is one that we have a voluntary willing seller that's not able to convey clear title. So this should result in a stipulated order of taking. Staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chairman, move approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item, as you've indicated, is item number 4, parcel 123. For the same reasons as indicated in the first presentation, staff is recommending approval of the acquisition of this parcel. It contains a total of 3,750 square feet. It's located on the front portion of the impact is on the front portion of the parent track. It leaves a remainder of 2,014 square feet. The parcel allows for the widening of Selvets Road with related roadway and drainage features. And again, I believe this is one that, at least in the past, we've had approval from the owner on the dollar amount. Staff recommends approval.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item, item 5.
Item 5, Mr. Chairman, is parcel 124. For the reasons previously stated at the beginning, staff is recommending approval of the acquisition of this parcel. The parcel contains a total of 3,750 square feet. The impacted area is located on the front portion of the parent track. There's a remainder of 2,014 square feet. The parcel is needed for the widening of Selvets Road with related roadway and drainage features. Staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
It's been motion and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Remaining item 6.
Item 6 is parcel 125. For the reasons previously stated, staff is recommending approval of the acquisition of parcel 125. Parcel 125 contains a total of 3,750 square feet. The impacted area is located in the front portion of the parent track. There's a remainder track of 2.014 acres. The parcel allows for the widening of Selvets Road and related roadway and drainage features. Staff recommends approval.
Staff recommendation. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
It's been motioned. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We have an add-on item, item number 7. Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item relates to an item that the board has previously discussed. At your August 6th meeting, we did an extensive memo and discussion, and the board voted 3-2 to offer to settle the annexation dispute with the City of Port St. Lucie if the city would agree to eliminate Parcel D and agree to changes to the joint planning agreement as enhanced by county staff. On August 7th, I sent an email to the city attorney notifying the attorney of the county settlement offer. I also requested that the city continue the public hearing on the second reading, which was scheduled for August 12th. We suggested that that be continued until the conflict resolution process was complete. We have completed the first of 3 stages. The second stage is a joint public meeting, which has yet to be scheduled. A copy of my email with the city attorney's response is attached. It was county staff's hope that the city would withhold action on the annexation to allow the dispute resolution to proceed to possible settlement and possibly avoid litigation. Since the county's stated planning horizon for the property was decades in the future, it seemed to staff at that point that the relatively brief period of time allotted to the conflict resolution process would not interfere with the city's plans. At the city's public hearing, both the chairman, Commissioner Mowry, and myself requested that the city defer action on the annexation ordinance until the conflict resolution process was completed. Unfortunately, The City Council did not agree to continue the public hearing. They did not consider the county's settlement offer, and the City Council ultimately adopted the annexation ordinance by unanimous 5-0 vote. They did not delete Parcel D as requested by a majority of the board. In terms of the next steps, we still are in conflict resolution. The next step is to hold a joint public meeting between the governing bodies of the city and the county. There is a statute. This is a state-mandated process, and I've identified the focus of the meeting. There's 3 items that are typically discussed. If no agreement is reached, the third phase is a formal mediation process. In terms of the judicial process, there's a right to appeal from affected parties. The county is an affected party who believe that they've suffered material injury because of the failure of the governing body to comply with the procedures in state law. They must file a petition within 30 days after passage of the annexation ordinance. Although the statute does contemplate filing the petition within 30 days after completion of the conflict resolution, in my opinion, the better practice would be to file a petition within 30 days of passage of the ordinance, which was done, as I indicated, on August the 12th. We would then move to abate the proceedings until completion of the conflict resolution process. In terms of a recommendation, staff recommends that the board, number 1, direct the county administrator to schedule a joint public meeting pursuant to the state law, and number 2, direct the county attorney to file a petition for the writ within 30 days from the passage of the annexation ordinance, with the understanding that the county will file a motion to abate the proceeding until the conflict resolution process is completed.
Comments for Mr. McIntyre?
Mr. Chairman, having watched and reviewed the tape in regards to the meeting, I would like to say that I got a sense that even though the city may have moved forward with their annexation and not contemplating giving any thought to our request, I did feel that there came across from the comments that were made that there was at least a willingness to sit down with the board, meaning our board, for some further discussion, and hopefully something good can come out of that. So I would move that we move forward with staff's recommendation today.
Okay. We have direction for the county administrator as well as for the county attorney. Other discussion this morning?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that we all have worked very well with our friends in Port St. Lucie, and I believe that we will have a positive outcome when we get to sit down and have a conversation through this process. So I'm very confident that we'll have a successful conclusion. With that, I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to say, Mr. Chair, I think it's a great opportunity for us to get with council men and women from the state of Port St. Lucie, really get the nuts and bolts of dealing with the situation and understanding that we can be on the same page relative to this situation. And I'm hoping that, and moving forward, that we can build a trusting relationship that will allow us to have our staff in the future be able to handle these situations without us having to come together to deal with situations like this. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. Announcements. Turn to our illustrious county administrator for our announcements.
You might want to pause on illustrious until I find the announcements.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
while we're taking a moment, I'm sorry, I have something I had forgotten to bring forward during the consent agenda. I would ask the board to ratify my reappointment of Marilyn Minix to the Tourist Development Board, which is coming up.
We have a recommendation for Commissioner Lewis. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's been
Thank you.
ratified. Thank you.
And again, while Ms. Outlaw is looking, I did speak about it earlier when we had public comment, but Saturday, August 24th, we will be meeting Neighborhood Enhancement Action Team that was created from the information that we gathered from community involvement at Lincoln Park Academy a few weeks ago, and insisted upon by the public as a way of helping combat violence and crime in our neighborhoods. It works to the theory of broken window theory. You may have recognized, those of you older and remember Rudy Giuliani in New York City. It's a way of cleaning up an area and pushing crime away from an area. So we will be looking for community involvement on Saturday from 8 a.m. till noon. We expect to work from Avenue D to Avenue F on streets 15 and 16. We expect to clean up empty lots and pull the trash and have all of the neighbors participate and local faith-based organizations helping us. And this is in conjunction with the City of Fort Pierce Police Department. Representative Larry Lee, who actually called that meeting together, was significant in gathering public comment and community involvement. So I encourage you to come out, meet your neighbors. That's how we stop crime. And again, if you can, please look at the article in the TC Palm section. There's a video talking about the silence that kills. It's important that we look to our neighborhood. Only 1% of the community is causing this violence and murder and mayhem. And if we can get 99% of the community to come together, we can stop this incredible negativity in our community. So I welcome you all to come out Saturday morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, the announcements. We have 2 meetings scheduled for the balance of this month. You have your August 27 first budget workshop, which will be held in conference room 3 at 9 o'clock. And then on the 29th of this month, there will be a joint meeting on the Port Master Plan that will be held here in your chambers at 2 o'clock. And then for the month of September, there are 9 meetings of note with the board. The first of which is your first budget hearing on September 5th, which will be held here in the chambers at 6 o'clock p.m. And then on the 10th of September, the board holds its informal meeting, which is at 9 o'clock in conference room 3. On the 19th, there is a joint meeting between this board and the Research Development Authority, which is going to be held at the park at 9 o'clock a.m. And then on the 19th of September, the board holds its final budget hearing here in your chambers at 6 o'clock p.m. And then your final meeting for the month of September will be the budget workshop on the 24th, again in conference room 3 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Excellent. Any other items that are happening with the county that we need to be aware of that are noteworthy for the audience? By the way, I appreciate the work that you and Mr. Benkovsky have been doing. Just keep hearing more glowing reports, so thank you both.
Yes, he has come right in and hit the ground running, and so things are moving along, Mr. Chairman and the board. Thank you very much.
Any other announcements from the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are
Second.
We will jump into the mosquito control district. Thank you. I'm jumping from computer to paper. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motion second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. This time we'll turn to general public comment. Anyone wishing to approach the district, please feel free to do so. By the way, Mr. David, thank you for all of your efforts. It's been a good couple of weeks here. Mosquito Control District is really staying busy, so thank you. That will close general public comment. Mosquito Control District?
Public hearing.
Okay. We'll actually be having a public hearing on that in just a minute. We'll bring you right up. Thank you. That we will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. With that, we'll turn to our public hearing. Item number 1, County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Heather Young, Assistant County Attorney for the record. This is a public hearing on a proposed expansion of the district boundaries to add the Town Park community, which is a platted community in the Tradition area. Chapter 2003-365, the Laws of Florida, which governs in part the district's activities, includes a procedure for property owners to petition to have their property added to the district. Town Park, as you'll see on the map, is located in blue. It is south of Tradition Parkway and west of Community Boulevard. The residents have submitted 210 petitions as indicated in the certification from the Clerk of Court. Staff has reviewed the property and the petitions, determined that the proposed area is contiguous to the existing district boundaries. The district is just above, on the other side of Tradition Parkway, as well as to the south in the Riverland Kennedy area. In addition, the area is sufficiently developed to warrant inclusion in the district. The purpose of today's public hearing is for the board to consider whether to approve the petitions. If they are approved, the next step will be a referendum of the qualified electors residing in the area. Given the relatively small number of ballots that would be required, the supervisor of election is proposing to do it through the mail ballot process. This will be a reduced cost, and sufficient funds are available in the district's budget for this cost. The notice of today's public hearing was published in the News Tribune on August 1st. In addition, we also sent a written notice to all the owners of property in the area of Town Park. And staff is recommending that the board adopt the resolution which was included in the package, which both approves the petitions and authorizes the referendum. I know that residents of Town Park are present, as well as Mr. David, if you have any particular questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Any questions for the County Attorney's Office? Seeing none, we will turn to our public hearing. This time, anyone wishing to approach the district on this item, please feel free to do so. I must be at a flying club meeting if you're here.
I just got back from flying to Utah, so...
Did you really?
Yeah. Good to see you again, Commissioner Maurer. Yes. My name is Paul R. Decker, and I reside at 11295 Southwest Vanderbilt Circle, Port St. Lucie, 34987. Just like to make a couple comments. I am speaking, and I want to make this a clarification, I'm speaking as a resident only today, even though I'm resident director at one of the villages, Bennington Village at Town Park, so I don't want any confusion in that matter. Bennington Village is one of the villages in Town Park, and as many villages are, we've been struggling, with the economy and things of that nature. Hopefully that economy is turning around and we're starting to turn the corner and, selling more properties and that kind of thing. We're a growing community. We have a lot of residents who are snowbirds. So they depart for the season of the summer and then they come back in the winter, and the issue that presents itself they don't really see, and many of them aren't overly concerned. And of the residents, my neighbors that I've talked to, don't really see this as much of a problem currently. We haven't been turned over from the builder yet. Builder still controls, the villages. And in that respect, I'm not certain that at this time it's even really much of a consideration. Probably in 2014, the residents may acquire control of their villages and then be in a better position to even speak to this matter. Many of my neighbors are concerned of the costs involved. Some of the proposed costs when the petition was going around were significantly less than what some of the neighbors have indicated, will actually be the cost, and it's their understanding it's tied to the value of the property, and as the value of the property escalates, so does that portion of their tax bill escalate. We think there's other ways that if there is a problem, that it can be addressed without adding to the tax bill. So I just kind of want to make that comment. And my understanding, if I could ask a question, is if this goes ahead and if it is approved by the voters, the residents, or conversely, if it doesn't go ahead, can it be addressed in the future? Is this a one-time shot, or if it goes on the tax bill, can it be taken off the tax bill? I know that was some of the residents were asking me that. I don't know if anybody could answer that question today.
Thank you. Ms. Young?
I could answer a couple of the questions, hopefully. With regard to the cost, I did have one call from a resident about that, so I was able to do a calculation for her. Under the current proposed millage for the coming year, for the district, and obviously that can change from year to year, for a house that is assessed at $150,000, and that would be after deductions for any exemptions, et cetera. The cost would be $60.97 for the year. So that's what would be added to the tax bill for the year. With regard to whether it can be done again, there's nothing in the special act that would prohibit that from happening in the future if the referendum was held and did not pass. The special act does not speak to a process for removing properties from the district, but I think that's something we could look at as a reverse method of what was done here to add them. Just do it in reverse. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in the sky.
Anyone else wishing to address the board this morning? Okay. Mr. David, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Do you have?
This young lady wants to come up.
Would you like to speak? Yes. Good morning. It was like drawing straws this morning.
My name is Sandy Heckendorf. I live at 11430 Southwest Hillcrest Circle. I'm the person that started this whole problem, according to these people. I just moved up from Broward County, and whenever I had a mosquito problem, I would call and the area would be sprayed. I did this here also. I called and they said, we're not eligible. However, I'm allergic to mosquito bites. My husband is. There are a lot of children in our area. There are a lot of pets in the area. And I'm nervous. The cost, yes, the millage, she said, is 0.40, but that was just increased at your last meeting. We were here. And we were told at that time that was increased because of Isaac last year. And they ran out of emergency funds. Next year, they said, it would go back to the 0.20 millage. It still isn't a lot of money. It's still cheaper than paying for doctor bills, medication, bug sprays. A can of bug spray is $6. We've gone through maybe 6 cans already this year. That's half of the price. That's all I got to say. I think it should be passed.
And I don't think you need to feel bad about your request. You know, if you look at the surrounding areas, everyone else is in at this point, and I think it's a service that the county has been able to efficiently provide, and it's one that I think you'll see some strong support. Good morning, Mr. David.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Jim David, Mosquito Control and Coastal Management Services Director. I want to just state initially that the district is by state law not allowed to solicit to have people join the district. But in the case of applications, we try to be as helpful as possible in helping with information. And in this particular case, I think one of the things that's outstanding at this time is, for example, Indian River County had some sentinel chickens confirmed for West Nile. Martin County in the Rio area has now had up to 5 cases of dengue transmission. So we are trying to respond to those issues that our neighbors are having problems with, and partly because a couple of the residents of St. Lucie County apparently were working in Martin. So we're trying to deal with the issues at the same time. Having a large subdivision not involved in mosquito control and not getting any help from us puts us in a very difficult situation. We want to try to help them as best we can and as soon as we can, and hopefully by allowing them to vote to come in gives us an opportunity to try to help them.
Thank you, Mr. David. Questions for staff? Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to address the board? This time we'll close our public hearing. We'll turn to the board.
Mr. Chairman, in fact, in light of the fact that this is just to allow the residents the opportunity to vote on this themselves, and knowing that there's always the option to come back again if it was to fail, I would move for staff's approval.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, and second those thoughts.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried unanimously. It will then move forward for the residents to be able to vote. Thank you very much. At this time, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We are adjourned.
We'll come to order. St. Lucie County Erosion District. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of July 16th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. General public comment. Is there anyone from the public? Seeing no one, we'll move to today's consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And just on a side note, I'd like to thank the board for their support Friday evening. Not a convenient time for many people when the Army Corps was here doing their scoping meeting. And as soon as we get word as to what their next step is, I will make the board aware of that. But if there's no further comments, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We'll call to order the Sustainability District. First item of business is approval of the minutes for May 21st. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next item of business is general public comment. Anyone wishing to address the Sustainability District, please come forward. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Next item is consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions on the item? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much.
We will come to order as the Environmental Control Board. First item on the agenda for the morning is the approval of the minutes for the meeting Tuesday, May 21st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. General public comment. Is there anyone present to address the Environmental Control Board? Seeing no one present, actually, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are no items scheduled. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a member of the audience.
One.
Oh, I'm sorry. There
Oh,
are
we have two members.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to devalue anyone present. There are two members present, and neither of them wanted to talk to the Environmental Control Board.
She just
so
didn't
we're
have
full.
any on her side, the left.
Okay.
I think we had a motion to adjourn.
We did.
We're done.
Does that mean they consider you part of the fabric now, that you've just sort of...
I'm sorry.
Family.